Hello, this is Rick Schultz from Virtual Dynamics. Welcome to the Audiophile. What we're going to do here is a very advanced version of the speaker tweak. Now, originally what we had done is we had taken out the original screws that hold the drivers in. This is on a Verity Sarastro loudspeaker, one of my favorite and most beautiful loudspeakers that I've had a chance to listen to. And we've replaced them with a brass screw. When we did that, we torqued them down to about 30 inch-pounds. We'd replaced the number 8 screw that was in here, originally the steel one, with the number 10, and really torqued it up to be able to try to tighten this driver into the cabinet to be able to get the resonances moving off the driver even faster. But what I've been hoping for on this particular set of speakers is to change the way that we couple this all together, because one of the problems that we have is that we're going into MDF. Now, MDF is a great material as far as being able to control vibrations within inside the cabinet. But one of the problems that it has is as you start to change your screws out a couple of times, or if you want to try to maintain the same amount of torque all the way through, is that MDF is a very paper-like substance, and it's hard to get a screw to really hold in there well. So the other problem is that we want the best quality brass screw that we can possibly use. Now, as most metric screws, or mini metric screws that you find are actually made in Germany or England, and the quality of the manufacturing is usually very, very good. So what we're going to do in this is we're going to use the brass screws or take the brass screws that we've put in, we're going to extract those now, we're going to move it to the next level. Now, I can only advise that you try this if you're very good with working with wood, or if you feel really comfortable as a handyman doing something like this. If you look at this and go, I don't think I want to do that, please don't do it. It is possible to damage your speaker when you're doing something like this, or damage the cabinet in such a way that would be very difficult to fix. So if you feel confident that this is something you want to try, or maybe you want a woodworker to do it for you, take it over to a cabinet maker and they'd be happy to be able to just do this particular mod that I'm going to do. We're going to start right now by taking the original screws that hold the drivers in. We're going to zap those out and pull the driver. Now I've pulled out all the screws around and I've loosened off the one at the bottom. You want to keep one in because you don't want your driver to fall off and end up in your lap. You can chip the speaker and cause problems with the driver as well. So I've loosened this particular one off here, but you'll also notice that sometimes the drivers simply don't want to just pop straight out, especially when you've had them in as tight as this particular driver has been. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a threaded insert, I'm going to thread it right into where the screw hole was, and just pull slightly on the driver. Now I'm going to put my arm in front so that the driver can't fly out on me. And as I pull, I should be able to just loosen this driver right off. And there we go. That broke it free. Put your driver over to the side where there's no chance of it coming into any sort of harm while you're working on the rest of this mod. Next thing you're going to have to do is pull your seal out. Now this seal was originally factory glued into place, so when you pull it out, it's not going to want to sit in exactly the same spot with a great amount of ease. So you're going to need a light glue to reattach this. What we're doing is we're installing this unit here, the brass threaded insert. It's got a 5mm inside threaded portion here for a machine screw, and on the outside it's threaded with nice thick and heavy threads that will hold real well into the MDF. So the first thing you need to find is a drill bit that is the same size as the outer circumference of your threaded insert, so that the only thing that will be holding is just your threads itself. The next thing that we want to do, you can see that I've taped off my drill bit so that the threaded insert will go in just to where it's taped. That's where I'll actually stop my drill bit, is right where the end of the tape is here, so that this threaded insert will go in as far as needed, and you want it to go a little bit past the edge or the surface of where your driver is actually going to sit. You want this to be just a little bit inset from there. Now as you put your drill into this particular surface, this is at a bit of a slope or an angle. So you want to angle your drill approximately to the same angle that the surface of the speaker is going to be sitting on. And you want to make sure that you drill in real straight from side to side too. because if you don't get this hole straight, when you go to put in your machine screws, they're not going to want to thread properly. So that's really important that you do this right. Now, of course, you're going to want to vacuum up your mess, and the easiest way to do that is to hold it in place while you're actually doing the drilling. I didn't do that because I thought the noise would probably interfere a little bit with the video, but that's the way it should be done. This is going to create a little bit more cleanup work for me right now. Now you can see here that after we drilled, we left a little bit of a raised edge on the end of our MDF. So you need to cut that so that it's perfectly clean, so that the driver will lay flat again. So just do that to each one of the drill holes that you put into your speaker. You can see how that blade fits directly inside that pocket, and it doesn't have a whole lot of play on it on either side. The other thing that's important is make sure that your bit is not too wide. You don't want your bit to be able to take out any more of the MDF. You just want it to insert your threaded insert. As you go to install your threaded insert, push quite hard against the loudspeaker. This will help the device to level itself. And then turn it in just past the point where it's flush. So now we're ready to reinsert our rubber seal to seal this gasket to the cabinet. So take and put a fine layer of hot glue right on the surface of the cabinet. And we're going to be using that to adhere our gasket back into the cabinet. We're ready to put the driver back in. Now this particular driver has these alligator clips to be able to hold the driver and the speaker wire together. What I recommend is to use a bit of Quicksilver Gold at this contact point. You'll notice that it'll make the speaker sound a little bit more like it was soldered, and it will reduce the distortion just a bit. So what I've done here is I've went to Chapman Manufacturing Company, and they've got an assortment of different types of bits. Now, of course, this is a fairly small kit that I have with me now, but if I search through, I'll be able to find the bit that fits this screw just right. You want something that fits nice and tight and isn't going to slip at all, because if it slips, that's when you have a chance of damaging your beautiful loudspeaker. So the first part of the install I'm going to be doing with just a regular driver. You'll have to line your driver up perfectly so that your screw is going to go in easily. If you misalign it, you're going to find that you can't catch your threads. So you want that driver in tight at first. Put the bottom screw in and tighten it all the way, and then just finger thread in all the rest of your screws to get them started. Now when you get your new Precision Instruments torque driver, one of the things that you're going to want to do is get one of these adapters so that you can fit your bits into the end. It's a 1/4 inch on one end and has a locking bit adapter on the other end. I'm going to set my driver starting at 15 inch-pounds. Now 15 inch-pounds is about right for a 5mm machine screw. So I'm going to set my screw in by just giving it a good turn, and my torque driver will click as soon as I've reached 15 inch-pounds. The idea behind using a really good quality screw is to be able to get as much pressure here as possible. You can often get torque drive ratings from the manufacturer that supplies you with the screw. If you can't get a torque drive rating, then you'll want to continue seeking until you find a manufacturer that can actually give you that spec, because it's a very important spec to have when doing this particular tweak. Once they're all set to 15 inch-pounds, reset them all the way around the loudspeaker. You'll notice that will change as you go around. You can also go across the speaker, just as if you're doing an engine motor or tightening the head to a car engine. Once they're all set to your 15 inch-pounds, you're ready to take your first listen. Now you can turn that up if you want. The more you turn it up, the tighter, crisper, cleaner bass you're going to have. The looser that it is, the more fullness you're going to have, but the less accuracy. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any ideas for tips or tweaks, you can always write us at www.virtualdynamics.ca. You'll find our email addresses, info@virtualdynamics.ca is checked daily. Thank you very much. I'm Rick Schultz.